What is up, everyone? It is me, DevilNeverCry, and this is Chapter 5, Raging Valley in Ninja Gaiden 4 on Master Ninja difficulty. Picking up where we left off with a mandatory encounter. Quite evil of Platinum Games to do this to us. You spawn in, you think you can get to the door, and you definitely can, but it won't open. So we've got a couple of enemies to contend with. Those big brutes are going to be the biggest challenge. And then we're going to have a lot of pesky little lamps to deal with, which infuriate me to no end. I think it's primarily because of the kamikaze attack they have, where they'll basically just home in on you and then they'll explode and do a lot of damage. And if you have a couple of them chasing you at any one point, if they basically stack their damage, they will one-shot you. So yeah, just be careful. But as is always the case with our dalliances of Master Ninja mode, we're going to start by trying to get a blood essence going, whether that's through defeating an enemy or breaking something in the environment. And then going to town with the chained on landing UTs. Kage Hiroko coming in clutch there with the Bloodbind move. It is quite interesting seeing how my playstyle has developed. Looking back at some of this older stuff, at this point I've obviously beaten Master Ninja, grab the plat, all that good stuff. But I start to use a whole lot more of the true obliterations instead of just wasting the entire Berserk bar on Bloodbath slaughter, particularly with the Kage Hiroko, where it's actually quite easy to get. You just have to be in the Bloodbind form and then perfectly charge an attack, and as long as it connects, it'll instantly kill the enemies. I think that's one thing this game can definitely do a little bit better, and that's just as we go into the accessories. There you can see I've got ranged attack halved when it comes to damage, and then boosting our own ranged attack just because Kage Hiroko's life. But yeah, they should have just done a better job of surfacing some of those tutorials, because I still get a lot of people asking, and even like myself during my first playthrough of this, I was a little bit confused as to how we get the true obliterations to proc, because they are different per weapon, to be fair. But yeah, that's where things like the training mode come into play. You know, this right here is actually an enemy we don't have to face. But again, Platinum Games being evil. If you want to gain access to the shrine, whether that's to, you know, put a mission in, or take out a new mission, or even just buy items, you're going to have to defeat the enemy before the shrine is available. And then at this point, I'm pretty sure, I don't think I've seen anybody actually able to skip this falling animation. But it's pretty inconsequential. It just means you have to avoid a couple enemies as Yakumo takes a couple back shots there. Absolutely raw dogged, can't believe it. Before we hit the walls there and go to town. And just like a lot of the levels basically near the Fuhaku Sanctum, there's a lot of platforming we can do to kind of just skip encounters completely. This one's a bit weird because we have to go back on ourselves, which caught me out the first time, but yeah, there's a lot of platforming we can use, and I guess it depends on the way you want to look at it. You know, Ninja historically were not doing what Yakumo or Ryu did, and then just take out wave after wave of enemies. It was very much lurk in the shadows, sort of, you know, Itachi Uchiha, kind of like destroy your whole family and bloodline, and then just peace out like nothing happened kind of deal. And we do some more running. Surprisingly, it works. Still quite concerning that the yellow stuff has managed to permeate this game. Like, you know, character action, even just action games in general, don't typically tend to have the most confusing level design. And the design here isn't all that confusing, I say, as I'm about to actually go the wrong way here, which is ironic that I'm saying this. It's not all too confusing, so I don't necessarily know why. Maybe they just were doing a whole bunch of focus testing and found that people got confused. The reason I went the wrong way is because I saw those fools and I was just like, let me just go the opposite direction to them. We find one of these Growdies, which I still don't know what these things are. I don't know what the lore explanation for one of these things is. It looks like a little T-Rex. I'm getting flashbacks to, was it Ninja Gaiden 3 that had the weird T-Rex boss? I know for sure Resident Evil 6 had one, and that was just another much like Ninja Gaiden 3, just a game that is just like a trip, and that's definitely saying something. as we make our way through the rest of this cavern. Still picking up items here and there. It is quite funny, by the end of this entire Master Ninja run, I think I'm left with basically almost no ninja coins. I have no idea what I'm doing here. Must have been grabbing a drink or something. Or maybe I was just soaking in the atmosphere, you know, putting myself in Yakumo's shoes, covered in fiend blood, probably smelling absolutely horrific. But yeah, not long left until we get into our first proper encounter. And this one here is interesting. I actually didn't have any revives here, no talisman or incense of rebirth, so I kind of basically had to use everything at my disposal to just ensure I didn't die, because you know how much I loathe sitting through those ridiculously long load times. As always, Big Boy's going to be the main priority here, the one who loves to spew his purple acid. We've got a nice chunky blood orb, so we're kind of going to get to town. And that dude actually dies quite quickly, which is pretty good. And then we've got a couple of the lamps. As always, you know me, like I'm a sucker for taking out the enemies with projectiles first, just because they become a nuisance. So the lamps and the flying dudes who are throwing the wind at us are definitely where we want to kind of focus our efforts. But we've got plenty of essence going around, so we can kind of just take our time here. Getting the nice almost double kill there with that one strike. But yeah, as I was saying, by the end of this, I'm left with, I think, maybe 5,000 ninja coins. I basically burned through completely everything. It means that I didn't actually struggle with some of the tougher bosses like Achilles, or even the final boss. I managed to complete them on my first try, but it was very much a case of I've got nothing else to spend these ninja coins on, so I might as well go ham. I'm expecting, as I waste a berserk bar there, I'm expecting the weapon XP to come into play whenever the two Masters DLC drops and we get some new weapons for the crew. That's the only reason I can think of. Otherwise, they probably should have just capped the weapon XP, so the moment that you buy the final upgrade, or as long as you have enough for the final upgrade, they just cap it off there and then. But it is kind of weird to see that number rise. I guess it's a barometer showing just how much people have played the game. I think it took me, I want to say 35-ish hours to get the platinum trophy. Which technically isn't 100% by any means, because I think there's maybe one or two chests I've actually not picked up. But it means I've got everything else kind of done. And getting around 35 to 40 hours out of a game of this caliber, I think personally is pretty good. I'm not quite sure what it was for, I want to say DMC5, but I guess that's a different ballpark entirely, because I'm more used to those games, so I kind of am able to be more efficient. Speaking of DMC, has anybody noticed the amount of parallels with 4 that this game has? From things like the wire used for traversal, DMC's Grim Grip, to having a new protagonist, having the main character, or the old main character, kind of sidelined in his own game. The amount of backtracking, the possibilities are, the amount of similarities are potentially endless, depending on how far you want to dive deep. The character, Yakumo, having a bit of a foul mouth to him, being quite edgy. Oh god, dude, that was some terrible platforming skills there. It just goes to show that one of those just let him cook moments. So we get the old swing here. Do I go for the assassination? No, I don't think there's anybody waiting for me down at the end. This is another big playground where we're going to basically skip almost all of it entirely. You just want to make sure you're stealthing around. So if you follow the route that I'm doing here, as I'm sure probably some of you will have found this naturally already, we've got one enemy on this rooftop. We're just gonna blow his back out completely. We're gonna do our best impression of 2002 Spider-Man. Take that chap out. And then we want to get behind this guy, and I'm trying to get this that wire point to work, but it doesn't. So we're gonna loop back around here, and we're gonna circle around. And he's just waiting here. And there's actually a bell that you can ring at this shrine here, and you'll get more enemies that spawn in, and then eventually, once you complete all of them, you'll actually get a chest that drops an accessory, I believe, which was a pretty cool touch. I found it by accident. But yeah, just keep that in mind. Again, we're skipping more and more. I don't think I actually hit that shrine because I don't need to. Another bridge that's broken. What do we think about the amount of flying that this game has? It's obviously very much just like a vehicle to get from one location to the other. Without, I suppose, the need for things like load screens. I think it's a big thing for a lot of Platinum titles, to be fair, even like Bayonetta or Transformers Devastation. I think they typically don't tend to have doors and things to go through. I guess it's more so a bit of an antiquated design, but I think even DMC5, from what I could remember, I don't think that had doors. Or loading screens, I should say. Definitely had doors. We're almost there. More yellow. I don't know how honestly you'd be able to miss that wall run. And then we've got more encounters to skip. It's been actually quite a while since I've actually played this chapter. I'm trying to remember. This dude can knock you out. He does, but we end up getting the rebound, so we can kind of skip that completely. Seeing those sort of like, what are they, like charms or warnings on string, reminds me very much of Naruto. We already had a single Naruto reference in this video. We might as well continue, right? And the explosive tags in particular. I think that would have been a cool weapon to have. I know people who are familiar with the Ninja Gaiden series probably loathe the term incendiary shurikens, but I mean, if we had our own to contend with that we could just throw in and decimate enemies with, why not? But yeah, this is an encounter, by the way, that we can actually skip. I think I got a little bit confused here with the platforming and I end up just fighting these enemies, but I didn't necessarily have to. Doesn't really serve me any favors, rank-wise. I think technically this might be one of the lowest rank missions I have. But the boss at the end of this is going to be interesting. Definitely not one of the harder bosses. Actually one of the easier bosses in my opinion. And quite straightforward once you know the pattern as well. But we're almost there. Just got to keep on keeping on. Very much a green tint to this. I've been seeing a lot of people complain about the game's blue tint. Even I started to complain at one point. And it's stylistic choice. This is very green. Skip these enemies. What I will say is you want to get across this bridge into that door immediately. Otherwise, they can basically stop you from going through and you'll have to defeat them. Alongside the shrine on the left-hand side too. If you want to use it, if you delay, basically you're going to have to take the enemies out before you can use it. But here is Sanzion, I believe. So starting off with this, we're basically going to bum rush the boss. He's going to teleport around. We're going to want to basically stop him from what he's doing. And anytime you see him glow red, you want to hit him with a bloodbind move. I'm using the Taki Minakata here just because it's got the quickest bloodbind move. And what that will do is it will do increased damage, as you can see here. We're melting his health completely. If only the rest of our attacks did this amount of damage. You want to be careful. Particularly with his laser move, which will hit you point blank. It can be quite tricky if you're not paying attention. And what I'm doing here is I'm basically preloading for the second phase, which we're going to skip here. And this is where the real fight technically begins. Buff our defense, buff our attack. We're going to basically just stick with him, and as mentioned there, anytime he uses a red move, hit him with a bloodbind. I failed that completely, which is why I got tagged. I was nowhere near quick enough. And I wasn't quick enough this time around either, which is annoying. Very inefficient play here as we get the parry. But eventually he's going to go into the middle of the arena, and that's when things ease up a little bit. So you can completely block this spinning blade attack. This attack here where he rains down his hands, I think you can technically block, but it's easier to dodge. And then this attack here, you can just simply block. Be careful. The reason I'm blocking so much here is just because these attacks do a lot of damage, so the risk of mistiming a dodge is not worth it. We switch to the Kage Hideko here, and again, every time he's got one of those red moves and you see the red exclamation point, hit him with a Bloodbind attack. It'll do increased damage, it'll stagger them. And I should have stuck to the Kage Hideko and stayed far away because it would have made more sense, safety-wise at least. And then we're going to have a repeat of what he did beforehand, where he's going to throw his arms out, he's going to rain down his arms, and the last one is just going to throw them out in a formation of 3. Yeah, as you can see there, I should have just blocked. That was a complete waste. Then he glows red, and then we're pretty much good to go here. And things come down to the wire because I start playing sloppy here. I don't know why I didn't dodge that. I think I was getting a little bit impatient at this point. But it makes for more interesting viewing. And it gives me a chance to talk about what not to do. My issue here is that I just didn't have enough Bloodbind. If I had the ring that slowed down the amount of usage and increased the amount of build-up, this would have been over a while back. But what I'm doing here at the minute is I'm just biding my time, and then there we go. Going for the obliteration technique, and then basically this boss is over and done with, and that's the challenge for this level, over and done with too, as we take him to the old penetration station with the drill. Who's got that on their bingo card for a saying, eh? I almost don't know where I'm going at this point. I accidentally go the wrong way. But that is basically going to do it for this chapter. It has been me, DevilNeverCry. I'd like to thank all of you for watching, and as always, I'll see you all next video.